No plan, no protective surface, just strong instant coffee, a shrunken tote bag, and one very nosy ginger cat determined to supervise every step. What could possibly go wrong? Answer: almost everything, but in the most scrappy way. From coffee splatters to unexpected craftalanches, we're turning chaos into creativity, one wrinkled piece of fabric at a time. Let's make something beautiful. Hi, it's time once again for coffee, crafting, and cats with the Ginger Cat Lady. I'm Pam, and Harley, well, I promise you will see him soon enough. Promise. Today we are diving into my take on the letter C for hashtag ABC April 2025. For the letter C, I'm doing covers. There are some other C's, but you will see those in a while. Now, did I plan ahead for this project? Absolutely not. But did I end up with a beautiful journal cover anyway? Oh, yes. Now, if you want to craft along with me, you will need some instant coffee, a padded envelope of some sort. This is not the one I used. I recorded this previously and forgot to do the intro. So you need an envelope, padded preferably, a piece of fabric of some sort. Mine is a fabric placemat from a thrift store, only 99 cents. Some nori paste or some other thing like PVA or Aleene's tacky glue, school glue, matte medium, Mod Podge, anything that's going to give a nice, sturdy, permanent adhesion to of the fabric to the envelope. And last, but I don't suggest this, please don't do it the way I did it. There's a much better way to do this. A cookie sheet for the coffee dyeing part. Before we jump into today's mildly chaotic coffee dyeing adventure, I want to give a big shout out to the hosts of hashtag ABC April 2025, Margaret at Seven Plaza and Tony at Crafty by Tony. Be sure to check out the hashtag to see all the crafty goodness that's happening this month. It's such a fun collab. All right, let me get this cleared off and I'll be right back. So I wanted to coffee dye some fabric, but instead of doing it the easy way, typical Pam, I just grabbed some cheap instant coffee, made it extra strong, and poured it into a squirt bottle because I needed to do this on camera. The ideal way would be to use a bowl, fill it with coffee, and then put your fabric in to soak. Note to self, next time maybe I should cover the work surface first. Anyway, I started by spraying everything with coffee, but then I realized, oh, enter Harley, of course, because nothing involving coffee is allowed to happen without his feline supervision. Yeah. So, anyway, I realized I should have gotten the fabric wet first because this helps the fabric to absorb the coffee more evenly and means that you don't have to use quite so much coffee. So I sprayed it down with some plain water first and then resumed spraying with some more coffee. And yes, another note to self, planning ahead would have been smarter. Yeah. So you want to make sure the fabric is fully saturated with the coffee mix. And look at that expert supervision there. All right, so I'm making sure this is super saturated by pushing that coffee into the fabric. And then I'm going to wring mine out since I didn't want mine to be too dark. But if you want a deeper color, just let it sit in the coffee for a little bit longer before you dry it. And then I'm going to hang this out to dry. And when it's done, we will start making a journal cover. Look how pretty that fabric is. All right, so I had already put glue directly onto this envelope before filming this part. So if you're wondering why I just dropped the fabric on like I'm in a crafting speed round of some sort, that's the reason why. I'm using nori paste and a paintbrush because it spreads really nicely and gives me time to adjust things if I need it. Now I'm placing the fabric onto the glued surface. If your fabric's wrinkly, don't stress. Once it's glued down and smoothed out, it'll settle beautifully into place. I made sure that it was centered and gave it a good press, and Harley's back again, probably here to supervise. All right, time to cover the inside. So I'm checking that the two pieces of fabric that I have are going to fit for what I need. It's actually easier to use one big piece of fabric, but I didn't plan ahead, remember? So we're improvising with what I actually had on hand. All right, so again, I'm using nori paste on 1/2 of the envelope. All right, now I'm going to get that canvas centered down onto my envelope and smooth it out. Look how wrinkly it is, but watch when I smooth it out how it looks. Isn't that fantastic? Do not bother ironing your fabric. All right. I checked the spine, and that fabric is in the spine area, and I don't want it to be so bulky, so I'm going to just cut some of it away so that it won't cause any problems, especially when I'm trying to sew my binding in. And once I get all the little fuzzes picked off, we're going to repeat the process on the other side. Now, this fabric actually came from a canvas tote bag that I washed and then forgot that it was in the washing machine and tossed it in the dryer, and it shrank horribly. Like, it used to fit a 3-ring binder, and by the time it got done, it barely fit a children's book. But I love being able to reuse it here and know that my journal is going to have something nice and sturdy on the inside. All right, now I'm just going to add the fabric onto the glue and smooth that all nice and neat. And now cut that seam again so that it's not bulky there. And then I'm going to make sure that all the edges are glued down well. And then later I will go ahead and sew along the outside edges of this and then trim that inside fabric. I wanted to work on the cover and get it embellished pretty quickly, so I decided to use my heat tools so I can move on to embellishing, the fun part. All right, now it's time to add the pretty stuff. I grabbed a piece of vintage sheet music that is from 1935 that I found at a thrift store. It even has handwritten annotations on it. So lovely. Then I tore it up so that it had a nice vintage used look. The key to when you're tearing paper like this, if you want to have that whitish edge facing you, then you're going to tear towards you. If you don't want that white edge facing you, then you're going to tear away from you. Then I'm going to audition some papers because, of course, welcome to our mini struggle bus ride. I found the paper that I wanted to use. I love this vintagey, grungy notebook paper. I got busy tearing it so that it would look fantastic on my journal and decided that maybe I needed something behind that sheet music, but then decided against that. I found my focal point and then also found some chiffon ribbon that you saw sitting there that matched that focal point. And now I'm going to ink my edges up for some extra definition and vintage vibe. Now here I'm using my scissors and distressing the edges of the paper. It's just as simple as rubbing your scissors back and forth, and it gives it a worn look. It just kind of roughs up the edges. If you want a worn look that is a little bit lighter, then you're just going to gently rub the blade. But for a more grungy look, like what I'm doing here, you're going to rub a little bit harder. Be sure you put some little nicks and tears in there. It's always kind of fun to give some folds and stuff too. Oh, Harley's making another dramatic reappearance. He clearly needs some attention. All right, Supervisor Harley said, that's enough for now. It's time for me to get back to work. All right, so I'm going to add some more vintage grunge to this piece of antique style notebook paper. And you notice that I'm creasing it here and there and then inking the folds. This just makes it look older and more loved. Honestly, it kind of looks how I feel sometimes. Worn, but still standing. And Harley's back again. Really on my case today, dude. All right, so I'm also going to rough it up a little bit with the scissors and add a little bit more grunge and love to it. And then do the same to the sheet of music paper. Because you know what? We love us a little bit of character, right? All right, I'm going to finish grunging up this sheet of music paper. I'm having fun giving it lots of little tears and stuff, and looks like it came from 1800s now instead of 1935. All right, now it's time to soften the look up just a little bit. I grabbed my crochet lace and did some auditioning. I think this one looks best, so let's use it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of, after folding that corner, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the front edge and then adhere that piece of crocheted lace to the front of it. And I was using my Barely Arts glue there. All right, bringing out the Ephemera storage book. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, the link's in my description box. All right, I needed a label for the cover, plus my letter stamps to add April to the front of the cover. So I'm just flipping through my Ephemera storage book to find a label that I think is going to work, and then using my Tim Holtz alphabet to stamp the word April. Found the perfect label. And now I'm just going to glue it to a piece of sheet music paper to make it a little bit sturdier. It's just a single page of book page and it just was too thin. Lately, I've been gluing 2 to 3 pages together in my ephemera storage book before stamping it, and that has made a huge difference. All right, then I realized that April would not quite fit on the label without going over the edge. Story of my life. So now I'm going to add some ribbon around the back and front to create a side tied closure, because I tell you, by the time I get done with this journal, it's going to be a chunky monkey gator mouth. Sorry if you can hear that noise in the background. That's Harley and his favorite toy. All right, I'm just going to speed up the gluing process with my heat gun. All right, so now I'm going to glue some individual pieces to the front cover. I'm going to put down my sheet music. And the wonderfully grungy, vintagey piece of notebook paper. And I am not gluing that down yet because I'm still auditioning. Looking at that label again and decided it didn't really work for me. So I grabbed some other stamps that I have and found the perfect label, finding some paper that I can stamp it on because I didn't like the whiteness of that other label. Now, Pam happened here. And note, please, I left this part in for your viewing pleasure. I couldn't find the stamp that I had already stuck to the acrylic block. Good Lord. Typical Pam. Well, eventually I found it. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp that label and the title and then trim it down. That's perfect. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. All right, let's glue it. I'm going to put my focal point down. Now I'm going to glue that label down. Oh, nope. I'm going to ink it first and then glue it down. Gotta grunge it up, you know? Make it vintagey and grungy. And here's Harley for another round of quality control. Oh, and once again. Wow, he's really riding me today, isn't he? That's a pretty close inspection there. Look how great it looks. I love it. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to use this every single day. Bye, Harley. Something still felt missing. You know that feeling? So, butterfly time. So I'm going to audition a few, yeah, not a few, butterflies. Mini struggle bus ride. It's going to take me a few before I find one. And this is, please note, sped up. And I finally have found, nope, not that one. Here we are. I have found the one. The only thing left to do is to fussy cut it and then get it glued to my journal cover. And, of course, Craft-a-Lanch, Harley-style. Let me get this cleaned up a little bit. Not that you could really tell with my messy desk that there was a craft-a-lanch. All right, so I'm going to fussy cut this. Fussy cut just means, for those of you that are newbies, it just means that you're trimming carefully around the edges of whatever you're wanting to use in your journal. Sometimes I leave a thin white border around the outside of the item and then ink it up, and that white border kind of just disappears. But this time I wanted to cut right on the line because I wanted a little bit more preciseness. I wanted it to be more precise. How about that? All right, I'm finished. I'm going to ink that butterfly up. I'm creasing it because I want to just glue the very center of it so the wings stick up a little bit, and add it on. And oh, that is so much better. Fantastic. And that's it. A completely unplanned, coffee-stained, cat-assisted journal cover that I am totally in love with. Thanks so much for watching, especially if you made it through all the chaos with me. And if you had fun hanging out, please be sure to give this a thumbs up, subscribe, and tap that little bell icon so you don't miss more crafty misadventures with and without Harley. My channel has grown since I've joined the hashtag ABC April 2025 collab, and I just wanted to say to everyone who's recently joined the channel, welcome. I'm so glad that you found your way here through the coffee dyeing chaos, the junk journal joy, and the occasional or not so occasional Harley takeover. And to those of you that have stuck around, what's wrong with you? But seriously, thanks for sticking around through all my crazy. Your support, your sweet comments, your crafty energy, it means the absolute world to me. And whether you're here for the scraps, the giggles, or the gluey fingers, I'm excited to have you in this cozy, creative corner of the internet. So grab your coffee or a cup of tea, pull up a pile of paper, and let's make some more messes together. I've got so many fun things planned, and I can't wait to share them with you. From the bottom of my cat-loving, journal-making heart, thank you. And as always, may your scraps be endless and your glue never dry. See you next time. Bye.